and get a smiling image for the whatever what are they called? Postage stamps? Next month, on November 22nd, 2017, it will be the 54th anniversary of the November 22nd, 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy, also known as JFK. My good friend and author Jim Marrs, author of Crossfire about the Kennedy assassination, was convinced that JFK was killed by the CIA because the president wanted to open up the UFO ET reality that he had learned about during his Naval Intelligence Service and from his father, Joseph Kennedy Sr. Jim learned during his book research that when his son became president, Joseph Kennedy a description used by insiders during the Kennedy administration. That phrase came up again 2 years ago in July 2015 when dark journalist producer Daniel List shared with me his videotaped interview with Douglas Caddy, then 77 years old, a retired attorney living in Houston, Texas. It was attorney Douglas Caddy who helped the Watergate burglars after their arrest for breaking into the Democratic headquarters in the Washington, D.C. Watergate Hotel on June 17, 1972. And it was Douglas Caddy, who was a friend of CIA super spy E. Howard Hunt, one of those arrested. Hunt had long been suspected of being involved in the JFK assassination. But what did he know about the reason? Finally, in 1975, attorney Douglas Caddy had dinner with E. Howard Hunt for what would be their last discussion before Hunt went to prison after pleading guilty to burglary, conspiracy, and eavesdropping. In Caddy's interview with Daniel List, he said, "Howard, why was John Kennedy assassinated?" And Hunt answered, "John Kennedy was assassinated because he was about to give our most vital secret to the Soviets." Caddy said he was stunned by that and then asked, "Well, what was the most vital secret?" At that point, E. Howard Hunt leaned forward and looked right into Douglas Caddy's eyes and said, quote, "The alien presence," close quote. Then Hunt reached out and shook Caddy's hand, turned, and walked away. And that was the last time that Caddy ever saw Hunt. That brought into focus for me some extraordinary documents that I had discussed in detail with retired aerospace engineer Robert Wood, PhD. Bob purchased all of the top secret MJ-12 documents that a whistleblower named Timothy Cooper sold to Bob Wood in 2001. Cooper said his father had worked in a print shop that did work for White Sands Proving Ground in New Mexico and had secretly copied documents about UFOs and extraterrestrials that contained titles and stamps, Majestic 12, MJ-12, and Magic, spelled M-A-J-I-C. A week after the purchase, Tim Cooper called up Dr. Wood to say another important CIA document had come to him from a whistleblower who asserted the 9-page document had been kept in CIA Counterintelligence Director James Jesus Angleton's private safe. Angleton had ordered the private files to be burned upon his death. Angleton died on May 12, 1987. Allegedly, soon after Angleton's death, these 9 pages were pulled from a fire before they were destroyed, leaving burn marks on each page but still legible. The whistleblower who got the 9-page burn memo to Timothy Cooper, who got the pages to Dr. Bob Wood, said in a cover letter on the burn memo that he worked from 1960 to 1974 in CIA counterintelligence for James Angleton, the director of CIA counterintelligence, and that he, the whistleblower, was the one who saved the burned memo and kept it until the 2001 handover to Timothy Cooper, who got the pages to Dr. Bob Wood. I have all of this, along with the 9 burned memo pages, in very, very clear copies that I did in collaboration with Dr. Wood, at my news website, Earthfiles.com, and there are 2 hot links to Real X-Files right at the top of the Earthfiles headlines page at www.earthfiles.com. I hope all of you will study these important pages that Bob Wood and I think are legitimate, even if we cannot prove it. I'm going to share with you now a portion of the first and last pages, and hope you will all get into this, see these pages for yourself, and other leaked documents for these valuable insights that they provide. The 9-page memo is not dated, but is stamped in red top secret MJ12. Since the subject is Lancer, all caps, it is assumed the date the memo was written was between 1960 and 1963. Lancer, all caps, was the Secret Service code name for President John F. Kennedy. His wife, Jacqueline, was called Lace. The first page is from Director of Central Intelligence, also identified as MJ1 in the Majestic 12 group that had originally been organized by President Harry Truman after the Roswell UFO crashes in 1947. The memo is copied to MJ2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and references projects Majestic, Jehovah, Eviro, Parasite, and Perhelion, which relates to the sun. Now here's the crucial part, quote, this is reading now from page 1 of the 9 pages that we refer to as the burned carbons. As you must know, Lancer has made some inquiries regarding our activities, which we cannot allow. Please submit your views no later than October. Your action to this matter is critical to the continuance of the group. Close quote. The group, assumed by who it's from and who it's to, is the same Majestic 12, MJ12, that was organized by President Harry Truman around the time and after of the 1947 July Roswell crashes. Then jumping to the last page, 9, and there's a tremendous amount to read and study in between. This is a directive regarding what is called Project Environment, and it says, quote, when conditions become non-conducive for growth in our environment, and Washington cannot be influenced any further, the weather is lacking any precipitation, it should be wet, close quote. That cryptic paragraph, the last in this extremely sensitive and difficult 9-page memo from the director of the Central Intelligence Agency, who is MJ1, to his colleagues, MJ2 onward. This last paragraph is better understood in Cold War language used by Soviet and American spies. It should be wet. The spies would understand to mean political assassination. It was a code. E. Howard Hunt understood that President Kennedy wanted to open up research and cooperation through NASA and with the Soviet Union about the alien presence, to the Majestic 12 group, that would threaten national security as originally defined by Truman and adopted by Eisenhower. So the question hangs there. Was President John F. Kennedy assassinated because the Director of Central Intelligence and MJ1 decided that the president was a threat to national security? That's how important I think this document is to consider at this time in October, when we have had the announcement of 3,000 and some new documents and pages, many handwritten, I understand, and that it is going to take historians and scholars and military analysts and intel analysts a long time to go through these pages. I would be surprised if these 9 pages that I am sharing with you tonight on my Earthfiles YouTube channel are in this new batch. Because Jim Marrs and I and Dr. Bob Wood and a few others, we think that the carbon burn memo that is related to James Jesus Angleton, the director of counterintelligence for the CIA, is what is at the basis of the directive to kill the president. A higher national security interest, the alien presence, trumped the president's desire to reach out to the Soviet Union and with NASA to start some kind of collaboration about the alien presence, which maybe some thought was a threat in and of itself, and maybe some thought that there were allies, but it seems from these pages that Dr. Wood got from Timothy Cooper, that came from the man who claims that he pulled them out of a fireplace where they had started to burn under Jesus Angleton's directions after he died, meaning he had died and now they were going to burn them. And it is this crossroads of trying to understand what the truth is about our past, this very revolutionary, seeming rocky present that we are in, that's going to determine where we end up in the coming future. And I hope everybody who is coming to Earthfiles YouTube channel will feel the same as I do, that even when the content is sensitive and difficult, as this is, that if we turn away from it, if we act exactly the way the government would like, which is ridicule it, say it's not real, and everybody will go away, then we'll never know the truth. And my thanks to my dear departed friend Jim Marrs, who's in another dimension now, that the long discussions that we had about what I've shared with you tonight and more, to know that Jim, when he wrote Crossfire, he knew when he got through that book, and Oliver Stone came and they made that deal, and it became that very successful Hollywood feature called JFK, was based on Jim's book Crossfire. That Jim and I talked at the back in the early 90s about the fact that Jim was finding more and more and more details and evidence that he thought linked the JFK assassination to the CIA and the cover-up of UFOs, ETs, and all things under that heading, alien presence. And that's what led Jim to do an alien agenda, and all of the books that he evolved and the work that I have done. And that as we are coming up to the 54th anniversary of the assassination of JFK and all of its spooky mystery, just keep looking and reading and studying documents even like this burned memo and weighing this against anything else that surfaces. And with that, I'll take a couple of questions, and thank you for having me. No, I did not. I don't even know when. I have been doing so much of my own work. I don't know the date or the content or anything. Oh, Jeremy Corbell was on Coast. Was it in the last night or two? This is a very good question. Will there be, yes, will there be galactic disclosure before the end of 2017, which is not many days from now? We're fast coming up to New Year's Day 2018. If you had asked me that question at the beginning of this year, I would have said with an enthusiastic yes, even in spite of the surprise that Hillary Clinton was not elected, and that we felt that we were on a firm track with John Podesta and Hillary to open up that we're not alone in the universe. I think they wanted to do that. I think they wanted to do it soon into what would have been, she thought, her administration. So the surprise of Trump's election seemed to slow some things down, but not stop some of the back channel material that has been going on. And on Phenomenon Radio that John Burroughs and I do on KGRA, we have done a series of interviews with researchers such as Grant Cameron, who is in touch with other groups. It isn't just one. There is no such thing now as just one effort. Tom DeLonge has an effort. Grant Cameron is in touch with people who they have their own back channel. I think it's fair to say that after all of these decades, that those on the inside who have some depth of knowledge about what the actual relationship of an alien presence is, or at least some alien presence is with this planet, that they probably are sick and tired of having to lie about everything as well, as much as those of us who have sat with people who actually have firsthand knowledge, and they are frustrated, and they are angry, and they are dismayed that in the United States of America, 70 years and counting later, we are all still in a straitjacket, a policy of denial about something as fundamental and important as we are not alone in this universe. There are alien presences, plural. They interact with this planet. They have for a long time. They interact with the solar system throughout the Milky Way galaxy, and our government is way, way, way advanced beyond where the general public of the Earth is. And for us to be at that kind of a disconnect, where, again, you have power that is entrenching itself with policies of denial and lies and black money and black projects, because it is in the interest of national security to keep all of this away from the public and the media. To me, that is a recipe for a future that will curdle just like milk. We will have a sour existence that will be curdled if we are not truly in a country in the next 10 to 15 years that is honestly leading the way about the truth of our past, our present, and that we, hopefully, the United States, is going to be a leader on the moon, in Mars, going to Alpha Centauri, and not capitulating to the Chinese, who seem to be on a really fast track now to be the ones that want to be number one in space. So we have a convergence of many things here, and if we would just get past this point with a history that is dark, but with a chance that in this future, if we make decisions that are based on truth, maybe we can bring the United States back together instead of being divided. And I would pray for that. I'll take one more question. Well, this is the question that a bunch of us were asking before the election. If Donald Trump were elected president, would he be willing to open up everything about UFOs and ETs, or would he want to slam the door shut? And right now, I have heard mixed signals. Grant has heard mixed signals. It's kind of hard to tell, as it is with most things with this administration, which way are they going to go? There was somebody else who told us in an interview about 3 or 4 months ago on Phenomena Radio that their impression was from somebody on the inside that he wasn't at all interested in anything having to do with the so-called alien presence. I find that hard to believe because I would think every single human on the planet would see the benefit in knowing the truth about our existence in this universe and who else is in this universe with us. And are they friends or are they enemies? Those had to be the very first questions that General Twining and Truman and George Marshall sat down in the White House in Washington to talk about. What are we dealing with? Do we have allies here? Do we have enemies? If we have enemies, what do we do? And that's where other people who have been whistleblowers to me, whistleblowers coming through the remote viewers, say, we have allies. And those allies have made sure that the Homo sapiens sapiens species so far has been able to evolve and live. Well, are we at some critical juncture where that balance between allies and enemies might be jeopardized? Is there something that our government knows is a bigger threat? Well, to me, I would still rather know what threat, what my government that is supposed to represent me, not dominate me, not rule me, not push me around, that the government should be our allies because they're us, but they're in big buildings with lots of money. So if we are on this possible brink of some of the alien presence opening up, and the question being, would it be under Trump? Would it be before New Year's 2018? I guess sitting here today, it might be in 2018. I hope it's sooner than later. And I'd be really interested for those of you who might be out there and have your own firsthand knowledge because of the work that you do, and you may not be able to tell me who you are, but I'd be very interested in insights from professionals who are listening, who might have firsthand knowledge about the policies of denial, about the alien presence that might have been the reason why JFK was assassinated when the CIA judged that he was a threat to American national security over the alien presence issue. So for those of you who might have really inside professional knowledge, and you can email or even use the U.S. Postal Service, and I don't need to always know names, but I would like a dialogue at this very, very important time. And I want to thank everybody who has been checking into the Earthfiles YouTube channel. I hope that as the weeks and the months go by into January of 2018, that I will have the privilege to say, yay, it's finally happened. Because I sure would like to see us with those headlines. We're not alone in this universe, and we never have been. Thanks, everybody.